Now, one thing I love to do when I hook a fish on my short line is try and keep your pole tip in the same place and get ready for the next fish by throwing a dozen or so hard pellets into the peg and keeping it primed, because that's what I'm doing today. I'm here at the brilliant Glebe and we're doing a bit of hard pellet fishing for carp. Now, I think if I had to pick one method for summertime commercials, it would be hard pellet fishing. I always think if this is a method that you can get right, if you can understand and get the best from it, it's how you're going to end up with more fish in your net, because it has that funny knack of picking out those bigger fish, those better carp rather than skimmers. It just always tells you what's in your peg and what's feeding, because if you can start with fish like this, it tells you that the carp are there, because we know they love to eat the hard pellets and it ignores those smaller fish. So you're not questioning in the bait. You know that what you're fishing with is something that's going to pick out fish like this brilliant mirror, because we have had an awesome start to today's session. Just unhooked himself in the net. Let's get back out. We've had a brilliant start. We've caught, I think, 5 or 6 fish in this initial run just by feeding a few hard pellets. And I'll talk you through the approach now, because it's a brilliant way of catching fish. And like I say, at any commercial fishery, it's got that knack of picking out carp and allowing you to understand if you're on the carp peg or if you're not. So, first of all, the bait. At the Glebe, I can use any pellets I want, as long as they're like a low oil style pellet. And we at Sonubaits have brought out some specific hard pellets. It says it on the bag, dead straightforward. Basically, we've sourced a really good hard 6mm pellet. We've treated them slightly with a fish oil, like very lightly, just to make sure every single time the pellets straight from the bag sink. So when I throw them in the water, I know every time I can be sure those pellets are going to sink, which I think is really, really important. I don't want them being caught up in that surface tension. Now also, what we've done for you is we've added in a few of the deep red hook style pellets. Now, I always pick one of these out for the hook. I almost feel like it's something that stands out, something that the fish can actually target. Brilliant when you're fishing shallow, that darker silhouette, and for whatever reason works brilliantly on a bomb and hard pellet as well. Don't be scared to try a normal pellet, but I always go for one of those first, and that's what I've been catching on this morning. So we've got 4, 6 and 8mm hard pellets for you to go at. Just if you're thinking on your fishery, if it was me, I always say, when I'm looking at fish from say up to about £4, be that carp, big F1s, then a 4mm pellet is the way to go. They're just something that the fish seem to eat and feed more comfortably on. A brilliant, brilliant bait, and can catch all sizes of fish, to be honest. But if I was thinking my fish are sort of like £2 to £4, for example, that would be my target. Here at the Glebe, I'm targeting bigger fish. It's £4 to £10 carp. So for me, it's the 6mm. Now all I've done today is just open this bag, straight from the bag, and I don't pour loads out at once. I literally just pour a few into my tub, because I don't want them to get damp or wet or anything or spoil. I need them hard, I need them clean, I need them easy to hook, easy to feed every single time. So I just keep the bag on my side tray. Obviously we've got some great quality bags. Keep them wrapped over, keep them nice and dry, and then I can just top them up as I go. If I'm thinking really big carp, let's say like a Boddington reservoir where all the carp are £15, then I might be looking at the 8mm pellets. Or if I was fishing at a further range, so if I wanted to say bomb and pellet fish or pellet waggler fish across the far bank here today, I'd need that bigger, harder 8mm pellet. Nearly every single time I go fishing on any commercial, I always take every size of pellet. I've done a lot of fishing at Lindholme Lakes in the past, for example. There it's Fishery pellets, but I always like to make sure, even though you think it's going to be 4mm, flipping heck, I'm using 8mm pellets. You never know. So always have the options with you. Have the 4, 6, 8mm pellets with you. I always like them. So if you're carrying them on fisheries where you're allowed your own pellets, those hard pellets are going to be perfect. Make sure you've got them, because going up a size or down a size can make a difference. Now I'll just tell you a little bit about where I'm fishing and why and what rig I've got, because I think that's always going to help you catch a few more fish. So first of all, I've opted for the 6mm pellet because of the size of fish. The rig is super simple. First of all, let's have a little look at the hook. I've got an 18 kKh there. I'm just going to get one of the red 6mm pellets, and I've actually tied a little band in a hair rig there. So look, hair rig that pellet on right next to the hook. Absolutely perfect. This is on 018 AccuPower, a nice strong reliable line. And then I've just spread my shot out there on the line slightly, only because all I'm looking to do is keep everything nice and tight. Right, you could bulk these down if you want to. I'm just more comfortable with that spread out shot. It's not about a slower fall or anything like that. It's just about keeping all the line nice and tight. I've got 022 main lines, super durable, super reliable. Excuse me. And then the float is my favourite 4x12 diamond. I absolutely love this float. It's in line, which I think is really important. Super strong, reliable, 2mm, mega visible tip, 3 rubbers on the glass fibre stem. Perfect for this style of fishing. And then a nice short length of line between pole tip and float, where my elastic is a 13 Dura slip. So it's nice to have a nice soft elastic, you know, a stretchy elastic when you're fishing close, because as you saw there when I hooked the fish, I think it's really important that you get some bait into the peg, and I want the fish to swim off out away from where I'm fishing. I don't really want it to roll over in the peg. So once I've got that pellet in place, my favoured way of fishing is to use, like, to throw the pellets. You can use a pole pot if you like, but I love the noise the pellet makes. So what I tend to do is ship out to where I'm fishing, and I'm looking to feed around about a dozen. Now, you can't throw on your pole tip every time. You try your best, obviously, but I tend to get 6 at a time. Throw them there on the pole tip, that's great, and then throw another 6 in. They've gone on the pole tip as well. So I got lucky that time. If they went slightly left or right, I would move my float to where the pellets went in. And I just tend to wait for about 10 or 15 seconds, let those pellets get into the bottom. I'm not bothered about having my pellet fall with them. I like my pellet to come in behind all the others, like almost just in case there's a few fish darting about up in the water. Sometimes they pull my elastic out, and then I sit nice and patient. One of the keys when you're hard pellet fishing, in my opinion, is to sit nice and patient, wait for the fish to come in, and cleanly your pellet. Obviously I've fed really accurately that time. There's a dozen hard pellets there on the bottom. So when a carp comes in, he's got almost like just 12 to go out. Obviously I've fed it before. Chances are most of those other pellets have already been eaten. And if I don't get a bite in, say, 2-3 minutes, I'd simply just repeat the process. I'd feed that 6 to 12 pellets again. Some days you can feed more aggressively. You might feed 20 to 30 pellets. Some days you might just feed 2 or 3 pellets. You've got to judge how often you're feeding and how many fish you're actually catching. We've had a brilliant session, or a brilliant start to the session here at the Glebe, so I'm confident those sort of dozen or so pellets are enough to, 1, attract the fish into my peg, but 2, make sure that I'm actually catching them and putting them in the net. So don't forget, if you're going out on a commercial fishery, hard pellets has always been a winner. We've made it really easy for you at Sonubaits to have the perfect bait every single time. All you've got to do is get out and catch them for yourself.